Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Jo. This is Joey Sewy, where I talk about sewing, knitting, creativity and life, and today I'm talking about birthdays and sewing. Yeah, and sewing. So I had my 42nd birthday in the last month, and as pretty much every time I have a celebration or I have the opportunity to get a present, there was a lot of sewing related requests going on, and I was a very lucky girl, so I've got loads of things I wanted to share with you. So let's get right into it. Before I go too far, I will put links to everything that it's possible to buy online down below, and details about what everything is. So I won't say that as I go along, but that will be the case. So the first thing, I've got them all down here. The first thing, look at that. Is that the most ridiculous but cute thing you've ever seen? I think so. It is a sellotape dispenser, but in the shape of a cat, of course. It's awesome. It is completely form over function, because this doesn't work anything as well as my normal sellotape dispenser, but I don't care because it's in the shape of a cat. And this is related to sewing because, of course, if you tape together PDF patterns, then you use a lot of sellotape. So why not make it a happier job? So yeah, this is super cute. I loved this as soon as I saw it. And if you're not a cat person, that's okay, because they do one in the shape of a dog as well. So these are in no particular order. Second of all, I have this. So there you go. So this is Liquitex Professional Fabric Medium. And basically what it's supposed to do, I have yet to try it, is to turn any paint into fabric paint. So it was about £8, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. So at some point I'm sure I'll share that with you, but yeah, you basically kind of water down your paint with this medium and it will go onto fabric. I suspect it might make the fabric a little bit stiff. It might work better on some fabrics than others, but I'm going to have a play around with it and we'll see. And of course you'll see that whenever it happens. No idea when it'll happen. Thirdly, I got this, which is a tape measure. Now, I've been sewing for a long time, so I have a lot of tape measures. But what's different about this fella is that it's got this marker on it. So I saw this on the Crafty Gemini YouTube channel, I think, actually. And what you're supposed to be able to do is measure yourself much more effectively, because you can move the marker along. Come on, camera. So it's supposed to make solo measuring much easier. It wasn't expensive. I think if it cost more than £4, I'd be surprised. So it wasn't expensive, and I thought for that I quite like the idea of that, because it's really difficult when you're twisting and you're trying to measure yourself to get anything reliable. So there you go. So next, not a very cheap present for what you might think. I got some scissors. These are Kai, well, they're sold by Jewellery, but I know them as the Kai brand, which is a Japanese brand of scissors. I'm trying to get them out and they're getting stuck. I have some exactly like this. Sorry, I'll come back. I have some exactly like this already, and they're brilliant. So they are curved, can you see that? Yeah, curved tipped scissors. When you're trying to get really close to fabric, you can get really close to this and you can snip your threads. So my hand is the fabric in this demonstration. You can snip your threads really close with the curved edge scissors. They're made for embroidery, but they work really well for snips. And I keep my other pair actually often in my knitting bag, so I wanted a second pair to go by my sewing machine, because they're fantastic quality scissors. They're not cheap. So these were £16 for a teeny tiny pair, but they're going to be with me for the rest of my life probably. So I'm not going to complain about that. Yeah, so they are the Kai branded, even though they're in a Jewellery packet. You can see they're Kai branded, which is a Japanese blade manufacturer of all kinds, very high quality. When I ask for stuff for my birthday and Christmas, often it's something that I might not have bothered to buy for myself. So I have all the sewing things I really need. I don't need to buy anything sewing related ever again, pretty much. But so when I'm thinking about what I would like for gifts and I'm making up a list, then I think about, okay, what would I really like but probably wouldn't bother to buy for myself? And that's the kind of theme of all of these things. Next, I got a pencil case that will get lost in my t-shirt. I just got this because it was red and stripy and I like red and stripy. Nothing particularly special about it other than it's quite fun, and I can keep sewing items in that. So when I kind of take a project, if I go and stay overnight at someone else's house, or I'm going to the boys' swimming lesson and I want to do some hand sewing, I've got a nice little pencil case to keep my knitting things in. So for pins and what have you, that would be really useful, so I got that. Next, I got a bamboo point turner and creaser. So this is a bit of a niche tool, again not expensive, nothing here, I'm just looking around, almost nothing bust £20, so nothing over £20, and this was, oh I don't know, I can't remember, but less than a tenner, probably £2 even. It's a pointy bit of bamboo, that's all it is, but you can put it inside a collar when you're shirt making and you could iron over it. You can put it inside a collar or something that's really tricky to get the point to turn. Also, if you ever do origami, I do sometimes, it's good for creasing the paper, or for getting a good crease in your fabric, or for a good crease in your pattern. It's just kind of a really handy little tool that I've seen on a couple of tutorials, and again, I probably wasn't going to bother getting myself one, but I know I'll use it a lot now that I have got one. And it was sold as a quilting tool, as you can see from the brand, but it's for anywhere that you need to turn things and make a sharp point or a sharp crease. Next is, if you've got one of these you'll know what it is, but if you haven't, 10 points if you can guess what that is. And if you've already seen one, you're not allowed to guess. No, it's not an accordion. It's not a handy fold-out miniature garden fence. What it is a Simplex expanding sewing gauge. It's for measuring out buttons, basically. Okay, so you take your item, you lay it on your table, and you expand your Simplex expanding sewing gauge, and it will perfectly, because of all this engineered crisscrossing, it will perfectly evenly space the buttons. So you can also have a look, okay, if I more widely space the buttons and I only have 4 of them, for example, how will that look? This was quite expensive, I think, because it's got to be pretty robust. It was almost £30, I think. So again, I've said it already, it's the kind of thing that I'd looked at for a while and I just couldn't justify spending that amount of money. But given that it was a gift, I know I'll get a lot of use out of it, and it's a lifetime thing. I'm never going to have to buy another one, and you can play with it. So yeah, I'm pleased with it now I've got it. And I guess it's expensive because it needs to be precise, and they probably don't sell all that many of them. So yeah, I really like that, my Simplex expanding sewing gauge. Next, I got a Clover hot hemmer. Clover are not the only people who make these. And this is a super simple item. Let me show you. That's all it is. It's made out of, it feels a bit plasticky. I'm not sure if there is any plastic in it because of what you use it for. You use it to iron on. So basically the most important quality of this thing is that you can get it very hot and it will not melt and it will not warp. And then you can fold over your hem, for example. So here you've got numbers and centimetre markings, so I think you can get them in imperial if you prefer to work in inches. You've got a bias line, you've got a curved edge, so if you want to turn the curved edge of a pocket, you put this down in your pocket and you turn it over. You've got an inverse corner, obviously you've got external corners, and you've got 1/2 centimetre marking. So it's super useful, and I've made these out of cardboard, and you can do this with cardboard, but cardboard, especially if you're using steam, will warp and will move. So this is just a more permanent solution because it won't. All the markings on it are not what you pay the money for. You just pay for your money for the material that doesn't warp and move. Not super expensive, less than £10 from memory, but yeah, I'm quite glad to have that because there's been a few instances recently or in my sewing where it would have come in useful, and now I have one. Okay, I've got 3 more things to show you, 2 books and then a mystery final item. So I got this, it's a second-hand book that I'd just seen on Amazon when I was browsing, and there's quite a few of them of different eras. So it's a fashion sketchbook from 1920 to 1960. It was stupidly cheap. It was, I don't know, about £2, with a foreword by Mary Quant, famous 60s. So it's full, look at that. The 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. So we've got evening dresses, circa 1927 to 1929. It's lovely to look at. Let's go forwards into the 30s. Oh, stylish suits, look at those ladies. Yes. And wedding dresses in the 1940s. It's really, really lovely on lots of levels. I mean, I just think the style of the book's really nice. In terms of fashion inspiration, it's fantastic. In terms of design styles and vintage details and dating things, so it goes as specifically as coats 43 to 44, coats 45 to 46. So you can see just in 2 years change or 4 years change how things are moving along. Let's go to the 60s. What have we got? Oh, here we go. It goes up to the end of the 50s. So then we've got suits and coats from 57 to 60 and coats from 50 to 52. I just think it was really a fantastic book. I think it might be an ex-library copy. Yeah, in fact, look. Oh, that's brilliant. Look. Ex-library copy from the Mid-Cheshire Central College of Further Education in Northwich. And it was first borrowed in 1989 and last borrowed in 2009. And now it's mine. Yeah, I quite like that. I love second-hand books because they've had a life before. So I got this. The second and last book I got is also excellent. It's the shirt making book. I'll probably do a bigger review of this if you're interested, but this is pretty much everything you could possibly ever want to know about shirt making, by David Page Coffin. It's quite a famous shirt making book, and yeah, it is pretty exhaustive. Not massively it's not a pattern. It's not a book where you get patterns, although there are a lot of things about detail. But yeah, if you're interested in knowing more about this book, let me know down below and I'll do a review of it and a little walkthrough. But I'm about halfway through reading it and I've learnt loads already. So finally, I got this, which is a whole bunch of colours. But it's not just any bunch of colours. So I have a friend who is a colour analyst. It was a thing to go and do in the 20s, no, in the 80s, wasn't it? In the 90s, to have your colours done. And it got a bit cliched, and I think the colour systems that they used to use in the 80s and the 90s were really quite rigid, and they only had 4 different, you were spring, summer, autumn or winter, and that was it. And not surprisingly, a lot of people didn't always come out of those consultations feeling comfortable because they didn't fit exactly into those very broad categories. It's more nuanced than that. So there are other colour systems out there, and the original one has developed so that it's more nuanced now, and it feels to me, having been through a smaller version of the process, that it's come out really good for me. So I am a clear winter, which basically means I've got dark hair, blue eyes, pale skin. Yeah, dark hair, blue eyes, pale skin. And this is a colour swatch of all the colours that should work with my skin tone. And I've been using it an absolute ton. There's some surprises in there, because I pretty much had no green in my wardrobe, and yet there's loads of green here, so I've been going with that a lot. There is no brown, which, so I don't know if it surprised me. I didn't have a lot of brown, but yeah, there's no brown. And the main thing is that for my colouring, it's lots of bright colours, really intensely saturated colours is what suits me, which I sort of knew innately. But being able to take this, and what I've been doing with it is, it's really small. You can get them in different formats, but I wanted something that was really small because I can take this and I'm carrying it everywhere. So if I'm browsing fabric, if I'm browsing clothes, I can take it out, and it just gives me a bit of a reality check about, okay, you like that, but is it going to look good on you? And it allows you to have a bit more of an objective judgment, and I found it really helpful. So I got a colour swatch of colours that suit me. And that was the end of my very lucky... Oh no, I've got two more things, two more really beautiful things. So, these are not sewing things, but I just love them anyway. This is what my youngest son got me, although he was very much guided in his choice. Let's see if we can get it to work. It says, "This is a positive sign." And that is just 100% my sense of humour. It's a pin, and lots of people really like pins at the moment. They're quite fashionable, but yeah, I love that. This is a positive sign. I got a couple of other things. I got some perfume and stuff as well, but that's not very sewing related, so I didn't bother to share those. But this as well, I got this from my other son, who was also heavily directed, but it's a skeleton leaf, and it's made out of an actual skeleton leaf. And I don't know the process. I'd love to know the process, but they coat it with silver, and I just love that. So that's a necklace. Would you like to know how I get my sons to shop for birthday presents for me? So I take them to a shop with a tame shop assistant in there, and I browse, and then I say to them, okay, these are the things I like. I like that and that and that and that. Here's my credit card. I tell the shop assistant they're allowed to use my credit card, and then I stand outside the door and don't look and cross my fingers that they don't bankrupt me. So far, I've been doing it about 2 years that way, since they got old enough to have to do that. Yeah, so far it hasn't gone horribly wrong. So they get to make a choice, but equally I get to know that I'm getting something that I really like. Maybe I'm too much of a control freak, and maybe you think that's horrible and they should just be allowed to go wild. Maybe you think I'm a complete mentalist for giving them my credit card, but it works for us, and that's fine. So yeah, that is how I get my sons to buy my birthday presents. That is the end of my birthday haul. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you've maybe found some things that you'd like to put on your birthday list. As I said at the start, everything will have been linked down below and as I go along. And I will see you again next time for something else. Bye for now.